The track I produced is probably the most elaborate track I've ever produced. There's so much work I put into this. Look at all the vocal chops. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button to not miss out any tech house production tutorials. But let's just go quickly into the breakdown. So this basic idea of the track, I found those vocals on Splice actually. This is how they sound like. This is obviously already processed, so this already went through like a lot of compression, even sound godizer and all the stuff. But basically I had the idea, I listened to this track Macarena from Spinning Deep, and I really love the way how they took this one vocal and then pitched it up, pitched it down, and then duplicated the same vocal. That's exactly what I did here as well. So I have like multiple vocals. The tricky part about this was the following. Like the melody goes up and down, okay? But if you have the top layer, like let's say this pitched up version of the same vocal, I had to like pitch up this, like you can see here, 3 semitones, but because it's in a specific key, I needed to find the right semitone. So I had to make each single vocal unique basically. I made this unique, made this unique, made this unique. And as you can see here, for example here, there's 4 semitones. So I had to like listen carefully, and it was such an elaborate process. And together, all 4 sound like this. And it makes perfect sense, and that sounds so beautiful. I really loved it. I really loved it. It just sounds so pretty. I really enjoy that. Oh my god, it just sounds so pretty. Let's just go quickly through the processing. So I have for each single layer of vocals, I assign it to a different channel. I went through the sound godizer, which is just here. FL Studio plugin. It went through this compressor. I even added a bit of relay, which is like a stereo field thing, but I didn't like, the relay is just at 80% because I realized that the more stereo it goes, the more phase issues I have. Quick tip for you, by the way, if you want to know when you have phase issues, you just upload span on each channel. And if I make this like really stereo, you can see that this correlation meter goes more towards 0 or like -1. And the goal is to have it more towards +1. By the way, make sure as well you check out my music on Spotify. It's the link under this video. If you want me to mix and master your track or your tech house tracks, then definitely go in the link in the description as well. I have a few options there. This is basically the easiest way to make sure that you're not having phase issues and that music is canceling each other out. Let's go quickly as well what I have here as well. I have this high pass filter. So I found this frequency, I think. I just realized that there's one frequency I need to cut, so I just took this out. And then basically on the high vocal channel, I pan it to the right, I pan the low vocal to the left, and the lowest in the middle. And then I have on each single one, I have obviously the Valhalla Supermassive. This is the reverb I'm using. But there's one thing, I added also a bit of saturation to the reverb to make the reverb more interesting. Because the main vocals on channel 42 is the most important, I put this, it's kind of like it's a sidechain compression, and this one is attached to the normal vocal. So each single time the normal vocal is coming, the reverb is ducking down, which means that the normal vocal is coming out more, which again like gives more clarity for the mix. And then I have obviously as well here for the short reverb, I have this like low shelf filter. So for example, the main vocals, the biggest part, the main important, the most relevant frequency is around the 2000 Hertz section. So I cut down at the short reverb, the 2000 Hertz section. Also, we don't need the high frequencies. There's also like a secret tip on how people produce is to cut down a lot of high frequencies, which are not necessary for especially reverb. It gives it heaps more headroom. Also, the low frequencies are not necessary. And on the vocal bus, I have a patcher with a mid-side EQ. So let's listen to it without it. I'm not gonna lie, there's not much of a difference, so I don't even know why I did that. Let's just go quickly now on the guitar, which is here. What's the plugin? I use for the main guitar, I think just simple a Labs instrument. Yeah, Labs. It's just like Moon guitar sample. It's a free plugin, by the way, you can definitely download that. Let's listen to it without processing. It's also very thin. And what I used here is the sound codizer, which is again FL Studio's stock plugin. Then I used Isotope Trash, which is like, it creates really bizarre distortion. And a patcher as well for mid-side EQ. Hopefully that makes a difference actually here. Definitely gives more clarity. Then I obviously added as well the Monologue, this is also a compressor, and a high-pass filter, a very simple high-pass, low-pass filter. The most important mixing elements is basically saturation, limiting, compressing, the right EQ, the right levels, and then a bit of stereo field separation, mid-side EQs and sidechain compression. Oh, one element is still very important. I forgot to mention how I produce the bass. Hope you can already hear that the bass has two layers. So this is the top layer, which is on Serum, a preset I bought. I didn't create this preset myself. Really nice. It's a devoted bass. And then I have also the bottom layer, which is the sub, which is Flex. Synth clean. And together. So basically what I did, I cut away the low frequencies from the mid bass, which is this one here. This is the mid. And then from the sub bass, I cut away, I believe I cut away, actually I didn't cut away a lot. So I adjusted accordingly to the kick, I adjusted the bass. Like mixing is very easily describable by thinking that you have, for example, if you have synthesizers which take out the main frequencies are 4000 Hz, then you have another element like vocals or something which are probably more important than the synthesizer if they're not backing vocals. You have to cut away from the synthesizer, especially in that moment when the vocals are playing, the frequencies which are most relevant for the vocals, to give it space to breathe. This is the same for every single element. Like it depends on priorities. If you have the kick, which is super important, its kick is more important than the bass, but the bass is also super important because the bass gives this movement of the track. So it's all about like giving space for the main elements. And I would say for especially house music or tech house, whatever this music is, you have to make sure that you have a priority of things. And I would say for this track specifically, the main priority is the kick, obviously, because it's a dance track. So the kick is the first priority. Then second, I would say, is the vocals. And then the third is the bass. And then everything after is hi-hats and synthesizer, all this kind of stuff. By the way, let's go quickly on the drum pattern, because I'm really happy about the drum pattern as well. Like I created most of it myself, but there's also a few loops I used. So simply, I just put two bongo loops together. And then a clap, a hi-hat. What is this? This is just Kashmir Crash. This is also, I really like this one. This is like the snare. You can see that what I did here is I added two notes into one grid, which makes it this